Welcome to Wings Over New Jersey. Come with us as we look at aviation in the Garden State, share the feelings of pilots who soar like birds up into the clouds, and find out what draws them back again and again. Aviation isn't just a silver tube that gets you to California in 4 hours. For many people in New Jersey, it's a way of life. And just like the many highways in the state, it's the lifeblood of our economy.
Hello and welcome to Wings Over New Jersey. I'm Carlton Rare, your host for this program. We're on location at the Sussex Air Show, one of New Jersey's most popular summer attractions. For many of the people who attend this show, this is an opportunity to see, to hear, and perhaps sit in a warbird. Aircraft with such intimidating names as Flying Fortress, Liberator, Avenger. And for the pilots and the former crews of these aircraft, just seeing them fly again and hearing them will stir memories not only of their victories, but of their fallen comrades. Keeping those memories alive are some New Jersey pilots who restore and fly these beautiful aircraft. With us today, in the first half of the program, we're going to be interviewing the Six of Diamonds who fly the T-6 Texan. And in the second half, we're going to be interviewing one of them, Bill Dodds, and his 19-year-old son, Derek, whom Bill has taught to fly these beautiful aircraft. The Six of Diamonds are actually 7 men who fly the T-6 Texan, which was an aircraft designed in 1939 as an advanced trainer for Army Air Corps and Navy pilots. The 600 horsepower engine and retractable gear really challenged those pilots, those young men who had completed their primary and basic training. In it, these pilots were able to hone their skills in aerial chases, formation flying, and the aerobatic maneuvers that were used to thwart enemy attacks. For those who met the challenge of flying the T-6, they were able to move into any single-engine aircraft in the arsenal or to transition easily into the multi-engine bombers. For those who did not meet the challenge, it was sometimes called the Terrible Six. With us today, we have 5 of the Six of Diamonds. I'd like to introduce them first of all. We have Dan Damio from Bridgewater, New Jersey, Captain Bill Dodds from Freehold, New Jersey, Rick Yersak from Doylestown, Pennsylvania, Dan Calderol from Vincenttown, New Jersey, and Reese Still from Boston, Massachusetts, who just flew in this morning. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. I said in my introduction that the T-6 was called the Terrible Six by those who could not meet the challenge. Did it deserve that title? Bill, go ahead.
Not really. It is a very challenging and demanding airplane to fly, and it takes above average talents in order to manipulate and fly the airplane. But those that mastered it enjoyed it, and there's very many warm spots in the hearts of those people today that come back to see it again.
Of course, as one of you mentioned earlier, some of these young men did not have a good deal of time before they hopped in this aircraft.
Well, they were required to solo the airplane somewhere between 16 and 28 hours, and it was at that time that they weeded the weak ones out, and the stronger ones that are above average pilots continued on, which is a demanding thing in the aircraft that they were going into.
What do you enjoy flying? Why do you enjoy flying the T-6?
Well, I like its basic simplicity and its responsiveness in the flight controls. The airplane has a nice roll rate, very reliable engine, and there's enough of them around where we can get together with other pilots and fly formation, which really is the height of flying as far as I'm concerned.
Dan, you want to respond to that? You've been flying this for a number of years.
Yeah, my background is over 30 years of general aviation, but I've been fortunate enough to have my T-6 for 8 years and to hook up with these guys at Six of Diamonds. It's a total departure from where I learned to fly, and it's just a reminder of what the guys went through, especially in World War II, to train to fly our advanced fighters and so forth.
We have some tape here, and as we roll it, I'd like Bill, I think you would like to perhaps talk about the maneuvers here. Are we ready to roll that tape?
All right, the diamond formation is actually the signature of the 6 of diamonds on our initial pass as we come in a half of an arc down the runway in front of the crowd prior to starting our normal routine in the diamond formation.
Anything difficult about this?
No, it's just like riding a rocking chair once you've been doing it.
How close are you guys when you're flying that?
Well, they say we're about 3 feet away, but it's closer to probably 19.5 inches.
And we have usually 4 or 6 aircraft in this formation.
In the diamond formation, there's 4 aircraft, while the other 2 opposing solos are sitting on a perch waiting to come in to demonstrate the aerobatic talents of the aircraft.
Okay, thank you. I'd like also for Dan to give us a little bit of a history of the 6 of diamonds. Go ahead, Dan.
6 of diamonds, we've been flying together as groups all around the states of New Jersey and the surrounding states. We got together because there was a demand to see these old birds. We, in 1978, started just kind of coming around and hanging out at air shows. By 1980, we had formed a nucleus of 4 men for the 6 of diamonds, and we started doing air shows seriously and for a business and a hobby.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to say that there were 4 original members, and the next member that came on, which was a year later, when 1981, was Bill over here, and we keep him in a solo position, keeps him away from us most of the time. That's why we do it.
He's pretty good, too. You know, I've watched you over the years, and I've watched your routines evolve. They become much more complex. Do we have a little more footage here of, I believe it's going to be the squirrel cage. Are we ready for that? Reese, you want to tell us about that?
Well, this is a maneuver where we first have what we call a fighter pass, and then we peel off and go down, and all 4 of us, the 4 diamond pilots, fly in the squirrel cage loop. We all chase each other around the loop, and at one point, if we've got it perfectly timed, we have 1 person on each point in the loop, and I'm the one at the end, so I'm chasing all 3 of the other guys, and then after the squirrel cage loop, we go up and we do our victory roll before the next maneuver. So very exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Are there any moments when you kind of scare one another?
Well, when you have one airplane, all these airplanes chasing you as they're going into the loop, you slow down as you're going up. And so the ones coming in behind the other airplanes are still going fast, so the distance squeezes between the 2 airplanes. And you want to make sure that there still is distance, obviously. So it's exciting sometimes, but
and very, very impressive maneuver. You know, obviously this vintage aircraft with its 600 horsepower engine is not cheap to maintain or to purchase. You want to give us some idea of the costs involved in this. Dan, how about you?
Yeah, well, basically they use about 30 gallons an hour of fuel to run, and they get their annual inspections like any other aircraft is required to do. The engines are still available, and most of our engines have been recently overhauled, and they're very reliable, and even though they're 50 years old, they're still very reliable.
If you lose an engine, what's it cost you to replace it?
The basic engine is probably $17,000, $18,000, but then there's a lot of labor involved before and after the fact.
And Rick, tell us a little bit about, I know you have some sponsorship for this, which often helps. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we do have a sponsor, the cockpit, and we're very, very pleased that they back our flying.
Enable you to get to air shows and so on.
As Stan mentioned, it is a very expensive thing to do, and without that sponsorship, I don't think we'd be able to keep all 6 airplanes flying.
Very good. Right now we have a very important public service announcement which we'd like to share with you. We'll be back right after this message.
illegal to park a motor vehicle in a reserved parking space for disabled persons unless the vehicle has special handicapped license tags or displays a special handicapped parking permit. Don't break the law. This message is brought to you by the Eastern Paralyzed Veterans Association.
Welcome back to Wings Over New Jersey. We're on location here at the Sussex Air Show, talking with the men who fly the Warbirds, those vintage aircraft from World War II. With me now are Captain Bill Dodds and his son Derek. I want to talk a little bit about Bill first. Bill is a captain with Federal Express. He has over 40,000 hours flying time, much of it in World War II aircraft. Aircraft with names like the P-51 Mustang and the B-25, B-24, B-17, the P-38, just really to name a few. Not only does he fly these rare and beautiful aircraft, but he also teaches and licenses others to fly them. When his son Derek was 13 years old, Bill started to teach him to fly. When Derek was 17, he soloed in a Stearman biplane and his father's T6. Derek is now 19 years old. He has over 1,100 hours of flying time. He is an instructor in both multi and single-engine aircraft. Much of his time is in heavier aircraft like the TBM, this beautiful aircraft which is behind us, the B-25, the B-17 that his father has checked him out in. He is also spending his summer as a corporate pilot for Averix, flying the B-25. And I think if you've seen Derek before, he is that handsome young man that steps out of this magnificent aircraft behind us. Right now, he is a student at Daniel Webster College in Nashua, New Hampshire, where he is studying aviation business. I'd like to start with you, Derek. What do you enjoy so much about flying the Warbirds?
Well, mostly flying them in general. It's really exhilarating. It's better than driving a car. It's a feel that's kind of hard to explain to somebody that doesn't do it themselves. It's kind of a natural high, I guess you could call it.
What makes it a natural high? Is it the sound of the engines? Is it the challenge of it?
I think one of the things could be being young kids. We like speed and power, and the TBM here has 1,900 horsepower, and that's a lot of power and goes fast. And
much better than driving a car. I would agree with that. What's it like learning from your father?
Well, I think being his son, when he taught me how to fly, he was more cautious than me because he doesn't want to see his little son get hurt. So I think my training from him has been much better. I feel the training I got from him came from the old school of flying, which I like.
Explain what that means.
I find the training in today as when you compare today's training to yesterday's training, it's a little bit different, mostly because the airplanes are different. And I think I benefited more from all these high-performance type airplanes.
Bill, you tell me you don't worry about Derek, but sometimes, he is flying these aircraft that are not only expensive but have unpredictable engines. Why do you trust him so much?
Well, first of all, he's matured tremendously because he has flown and is flying these Warbirds, which are very high-priced aircraft. When he got his low-level aerobatic waiver, it was in the T6 at that time, and I wasn't really that concerned with him because I know that his talents and what I taught him, that he could handle any situation that would possibly arise. and that he knows that the demands that are made upon him for his young age, and he has the trust, or I have the trust in him, that I know that he's going to perform with no tolerances of error at all.
Derek, this is pretty heady stuff, you know. Young guy gets out of this big airplane in front of thousands of people. What's that feel like?
Well, it's hard to explain. It's for younger kids and people my age, I kind of hope that I look as like a role model to them, that you can go and accomplish any dream that you have, that you can, if you put your mind to anything, you can do it, and that drugs and alcohol drinking, things like that, you don't need that in today's day and age to have fun. And I hope that people, see me doing this and they say, well, if he can do that, then I can do something good too.
How do your peers react to your flying?
A lot of them like it. Some are jealous, which, I try not to make them.
Take them up for rides?
Yeah, I take them up for rides sometimes. They have fun. I try to be, fair to them. I don't want anybody to get mad at me.
Still want to keep you friends, right? Even though you do things they would never dream of. Bill, give us some idea about the cost of these aircraft, because we're talking now not just about the T6, but the P-51 and the TBM.
Well, first of all, the T6 I like to refer to as the most efficient airplane in the world for converting gas into noise. But it's an expensive airplane. The TBM is very expensive to operate when it burns 75 gallons an hour in fuel. The price of the airplane is in the $500,000 category. The P-51s and the B-25s, you're looking close to approaching $1 million. And parts are starting to become scarce, and particular component parts are very expensive, and it takes a lot of dedication, and sometimes parts have to be made by hand. So you're looking at an expensive airplane, and Derek's been checked out in the P-51, which the one he was checked out in, the value of it was $750,000. So they're not cheap.
There is some debate in the aviation community about whether these aircraft, because they are so expensive and because they are so rare, whether they should be flown at all. For both of you, what kind of feelings do you have about that? Derek?
I think probably my dad and I agree on this. It's we take them around and fly them so that the people that did fly them can see them again and continue to see them flying. And for the younger generation that didn't have the chance to witness these airplanes from World War II can also see these things fly.
Bill?
I feel the same as Derek mentioned, that the people who from World War II flew these, trained in these airplanes, and actually flew them in combat, many of them have come up to us and said, I flew this in combat and it saved me, it brought me home, I'm alive today because of this airplane in a war that we were out defending our freedoms that we possess today. And they want to thank the airplane before they go west. And they would like to see it fly, they like to hear it fly, they would like to touch it, they would like to relive some of those experiences, some of them which were very terrible, but also some of them were very happy moments that they had. And they have to see it one more time, and I think it's necessary that we fly these airplanes to show the youth of today that this is history. You're seeing history fly instead of being in a museum that's a static display or something like that.
Bill, you also train others, not just Derek, but other pilots in these aircraft. Give us some idea of the kinds of people who are training in, say, the B-17 and the B-25, and what the costs are that are involved in that.
Well, you're looking, when I train these people, because of my experience level, these are museum aircraft. Some of them, such as the P-51 and so forth, are privately owned, and individuals who have not the experience in these type of aircraft, I try to teach them, one, how to fly the airplane, two, to teach them the characteristics of the airplane. The B-17, for example, has an operating cost of approximately $3,000 an hour. The TBM, which you see behind us, has a operating cost of approximately $1,000 an hour. The B-25 is in the vicinity of $2,500 an hour. So as we go around for these air shows, the compensation is not as great to even meet the expenses on the airplane. It just helps defer the expenses. And they're very expensive to run, but like I said earlier, I feel that people, the public, should see the aircraft fly.
Yeah, it's well worth the cost. Derek, what do you want to do with your future?
Hopefully be an airline pilot. I can't see myself sitting behind a desk for the rest of my life, so I may as well sit in an airplane.
Maybe like a 747. And Bill, I have another question for you. You have flown so many different aircraft, I couldn't even list them all here. Is there anything left that you still want to fly?
Well, if somebody will drive one up and give me the keys, I'll fly it. I enjoy it. I'll fly anything. I enjoy flying for the love of it. And I fly everything and anything. I do have certain favorites, though, which are the warbirds. And if I haven't flown the airplane before and somebody comes up, I will sort of bug them to let them throw me the keys and go flying.
That's just great. A couple other questions for you here about the flying of these airplanes. You know, you're very liberal about keeping them out here. Do you ever worry about people coming over and doing something with them that they perhaps should not be doing?
Well, yes, we do, because many people do not respect the aircraft, and they're uninformed, so we have to watch them. And while we are around the aircraft, we would be happy to answer any questions or talk to you, the people, about the history of the airplane, what the airplane does, and to help them not get into trouble and touching something that they shouldn't and creating damage.
Derek, what do people say to you when they come up to you and they see you sitting on the wing of this TBM?
Usually the first question they say is, "You fly this?" Because they see how young I am. I say, "Yeah." And then they start asking me some questions, and everybody wants a ride. And if I could, I'd give everybody a ride, but I don't think I could afford it.
You know, when people ask that question of you, I think one of the things that they need to remember is that if they think you're too young, you're really not, because back in World War II, at age 19, young men were being trained to fly this. And by the way, the TBM is the aircraft that was flown by George Bush in World War II. What are some of the air shows that you have taken this to?
Let's see. I've gone as far south as Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a couple years ago. I go out to Oshkosh every year, and I do several shows around the Mid-Atlantic states here during the summer also.
Bill?
Well, we travel generally everything east of the Mississippi because it gets a little difficult to sit on a parachute for 10, 12 hours. Certain parts of the anatomy are a little sore after a while, and some of the World War II people will remember that. But we are performing mainly in the New England, Mid-Atlantic area, and to demonstrate and show the aircraft off at shows such as here at Sussex. And I think this is our 9th year here at Sussex.
That's just great. One of the things that I want to add here, a personal note, I've had the privilege of flying back from Oshkosh 2 years ago in the back seat of one of the T6s. Derek was flying along with us in the TBM. And one of the things about the Six of Diamonds is that they are always professionals. They fly in formation that entire trip, and one of the most memorable moments for me is when we passed by the office buildings lining Lake Michigan, and you guys were there in formation. And the other wonderful thing about them is that when they land along the route, they line up in an echelon, peel off, giving an air show all along the route, and then they take off again in formation. So you can always, if you hear those throaty engines up in the sky, if you look up, you're getting a free air show. You don't just have to come here to Sussex. So for all of us here at Wings Over New Jersey, we'd like to thank you for being with us here today. And thank you again to the Six of Diamonds and to Derek. And good luck to you. And Derek, good luck in your future plans at school. And we're going to be looking forward to seeing much more of you at air shows like Sussex. Thank you again.
Diamond Lead, you got the show. Here we go.
All right, now we're going to take a pause for a moment or two while the Six of Diamonds start their takeoff roll. They're going to be climbing up for altitude. Just take about a minute or so here while we launch the Six of Diamonds, and here they come. 6, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Lau, the voice of the 6 of Diamonds.
Ladies and gentlemen, look high overhead. The 6 of Diamonds, 1992. Watch as the two solos split out. That's Bill Dodds on the left and Dan Damio on the right. Bill Dodds, a 747 captain for Federal Express. Dan Damio runs a trucking company right on most days. These gentlemen have been flying together in various forms since about 1980. Started out as fun, got to be an air show act. Watch once again as our two solos, Bill on the right, Dan on the left, come at each other one more time. Getting up around 200 miles an hour at the bottom.
Aviation is many things to many people. Private aircraft, vintage classics, home builts, commercial airliners, and military hardware. We have all of that in New Jersey. We also have balloons, ultralights, and sailplanes. There are many beautiful little airports and some very interesting people involved in aviation. There is more aviation history here than almost any other state. Many of the early historic flights have their roots here. Aviation remains one of the transportation keystones of our state's economy, and flying is a challenging and rewarding pastime for us all. We hope that you have enjoyed this program. If you have an interesting aviation story to be told, drop us a line at Wings Over New Jersey, Post Office Box 86, Caldwell, New Jersey, 07006. We'll have more on the next Wings Over New Jersey.